Hey everyone, so for today we're going to discuss our next topic for Linguistics 1, which is still under word order, but specifically on the word order concerning adjectives and adverbs. So for your objectives for this, or our objectives for this lesson, at the end of the lesson, the students should be able to review on adjectives and adverbs as parts of speech and identify the word order in adjectives and adverbs. First, we discuss word order concerning your adjectives. So as a review as well of your parts of speech, wherein adjectives is one of them. So adjectives modify or describe and limits nouns, pronouns, and word groups that function as nouns. So, or in simple terms, adjectives modify or describe your nouns, pronouns, and your other word groups which hold the same function as nouns when used in sentences or clauses. So for example, in English, an adjectives comes directly before the noun it describes. For example, we have here the following phrases: old man, beautiful bag, successful event. So obviously, since we say here that adjectives come directly before the noun, these are our nouns. So man or man, bag, and your event. So for this nouns, usually the adjectives or the words that describe them come before the nouns. So old man, beautiful bag, successful event. So they come first. Such as in your other examples as well. Fresh fruits, pink bag, or um, new house, and so on and so forth. So when more than one adjective is used to modify a noun, it is important to consider the order in which the adjectives appear. Of course, if you only have one adjective and one adjective modifying or describing your noun, syempre wala siya sanggam mo, kaya siya naman isa, of course, it would be placed right before the noun as it is. But then, when we have more than one adjective in a sentence, for example, or in a said text, to modify or describe a noun, we have here a general word order to follow sa pagpasunod sa adjective. So hindi siya hambal na pag gusto lang or according to your preference lang ang pagpasunod mo sa adjectives if more than one adjective is present in a sentence modifying or describing a noun. So we have here the word order for adjectives. So we have all in all 10. So although hindi man siya hambal na kailangan ara gid ning 10 nga ni. So if ever 3, for example, or 2, ano ba ang mauna? If, for example, we have you're nice, you're Italian, you're pink, you're young, and so on and so forth in one sentence to modify a single noun, ano ba ang pagpasunod dapat, or what is the proper sequence or word order, so to speak. So first, what comes first is our determiners. So our determiners could be any of the following. So usually, in a sentence with your word order in adjectives, our word order for adjectives usually start with your determiner. Or more specifically with these 3, your articles, demonstratives, and possessives. For example, meron muna mauna either sa kanilang tatlo. So for example, for articles, this could refer to your a, your an, or your the, or your demonstratives na this, those. Other than that, we also have your these and your that. For your possessives naman, we have your his, your hers, everybody's with your apostrophe s, or including your proper noun like your wanna's, wanna apostrophe s, its, theirs, and so on and so forth. So for example, dun muna mag-start, and then followed by any of these 2 if nag-exist siya, or if it exists or it is used in a said sentence. So after your articles or demonstratives and possessives, since sila ang starter in your word order for adjectives, this could be followed, or this should be followed if any of the 2 are used, amounts. So for amounts, we have there your 1, 5, many, few, ano pa dira, 10. So I made use of your ellipsis since these are not the only words qualified for your amounts. So there are hundreds of words that would qualify for the category of amounts. So you also have your order. So first, next, last, so third, second, daw kung sa contest or competition bala daw or the order there. Kumbaga, so that qualifies here. First, next, last, second, third, ninth, and so on and so forth. So after that, we also have, or after we have your determiners already, you have identified them. This is followed by your coordinate adjectives. So coordinate adjectives are adjectives under or using your subject evaluation or personal opinion. For example, for one person, this specific noun or object or person or place could be nice. For some, it could be nasty. For some, it could be beautiful. It could be ugly. It could be pitiful, and so on and so forth. So that is what we call your coordinate adjectives. So it could be beautiful, ugly, tiring, excruciating, for example, painful, relaxing, and so on and so forth. All those adjectives that you can think of under your subject evaluation or personal opinions. So after that, so we are already on the second. So the third one under your word order for objectives are the adjectives describing size. So some examples of adjectives describing size are your big, huge, little, tiny. Other than that, there are other adjectives as well in the English language that describe or refer to your size, like your ginormous, ano pa ba, gigantic, for example, in other words referring to describing to size. After that, after this adjectives describing size, we also have your adjectives. So, ito na siya actually ang pagpasunod. So, after your determiners, it should be followed by your coordinate adjectives. If the coordinate adjectives are present in the sentence or phrase, then it should be followed by adjectives describing your size. After that, it should be followed by adjectives describing your shape. So, for shape, we have the following examples: long, short, round, square, ano pa ba, triangular, oblongated, and heart shape, for example, pentagon, and so on and so forth. So for the fifth one, we have here adjectives describing age. So obviously, adjectives, some examples of adjectives describing age are young, old, modern, ancient, ano pa ba, traditional, for example. So sixth, we also have your adjectives describing color. So this is very obvious or self-explanatory already. So there are thousands and thousands of colors that qualify under your adjectives describing color. Like your pink, your lavender, your white, your red. Ano pa ang color ang makita mo sa rainbow palette, mapa-magenta pa na, mapa-fuchsia, mapa-scarlet, and so on and so forth. So we also have, following that, if they are present also in the clause, adjectives describing nationality. So we have your Italian, French, Japanese, Filipino, for example. What else? Chinese, Korean, and so on and so forth. So there are also a lot of nationalities that could qualify under adjectives describing nationality. So obviously, if we are using or if we are referring to adjectives describing nationality, we use them with the use with your capital letters for the first letter. Next, you also have your adjectives referring to architectural style or religion. So this first two especially refers to adjectives referring to architectural style. So architectural style, style in designing a house, for example, or a column, yung in temples, for example. So it could be Greek style or Gothic style, and the rest are your religions. For example, you're Catholic, you're Jewish, you're Muslim, you're Buddhist, you're Taoist, ano pa dyan. Then we also have your second to the last forward order of adjectives. So adjectives describing material. So for example, material, what are clothes made of ba? Ano ba ang material? Usually ang example. For example lang, clothes pa lang marami na. We have nylon, we have cotton, we have ano pa ng mga synthetic materials, for example. So we also have there like your cardboard, plastic mga siya, silver, steel, gold, for example, aluminum, so on and so forth. So describing material or what kind of quality. Kumbaga. So these are just some example of adjectives. Adjectives describing material. So lastly, for number 10, under your word order for objectives, nouns functioning as adjectives. So if you take a look at the following phrases that we have here, soccer ball, cardboard box, history class. So you can see here, yung mga naka-italicized na mga words such as your soccer, cardboard, and history. These are actually examples of nouns. But as they are used in the phrases below, here in our examples, they function as adjectives. Soccer is an example of a noun. So, for example, this is an example of a sport, so noun. But then, this functions as an adjective in the phrase soccer ball because there are a lot of in sports there are different types of balls. So there is a different ball used for basketball, for volleyball, for ano pa dyan, for soccer as we have here, for rugby, and so on and so forth. Same with your cardboard box. So there are different types of cardboard box naman. So cardboard is also a noun, but when we paired it here with your another noun na box, cardboard box, it functioned as an adjective rather. So it functioned as an adjective, cardboard box. So it means to say that there are different types of boxes aside from cardboard box. So we could have plastic box, wooden box, ano pa dyan? Latex, for example. May ganun ba? So we also have history class. So history is originally under the parts of speech. It belongs to nouns. But then, when we paired it here with the word class in your phrase history class, it functions as an adjective. Sorry. So it functions as an adjective. So it implies rather that there are different types of classes. So we have history class, we have English class, we have our mathematics class, politics class, and so on and so forth. So that is the word order for adjectives na we will follow in our discussion. So we have here following examples as well to further illustrate how word order works for adjectives. So for example, we have the sentence, Dorothea lives in a big brick house. So we will focus here on the adjectives or on the word order concerning your adjectives. So the phrase here, which is in boldface, a big brick house. So we have there. So these are your adjectives. Sorry. So in the phrase, a big brick house. So we have here first your a, which belongs to, going back to your word order na cheat sheet natin. So we have there your a. Under your determiners, tama siya ang nauna, which is specifically an example of your articles. Siya ang nauna. And then we have your big, which is an adjective concerning or describing your size. So tama because nauna ang a. And then next is adjective describing size. Since wala naman tayo dito sa sentence ng adjectives describing your coordinate or subject valuation or personal opinion, diretso tayo dito sa big kasi ito lang naman ang mga nag-exist dito or na-cite na mga adjectives. We have here article or your determiner, mas general na category. Then we have your adjectives concerning or describing size, big, and then brick. Brick is under your material. Adjectives describing material. So cardboard, plastic, silver, steel, ano pa dyan, material, for example, in building a house. So for example, brick, cement, asphalt, those are adjectives under your adjectives describing material. So we have there a big brick house. So house, of course, is not an example of an adjective because this is a noun. This is the one being described by your big brick na your adjective. So this is one example kung bakit of your word order. So syempre, we did not have your color, age, nationality kasi ito lang naman yung mga adjectives na ginamit sa sentence. So we only have here your 3 adjectives plus your determinant. So this is a correct sentence observing proper word order of your adjectives. Second, we have the second sentence. Our club is going to upcycle these old brown cardboard boxes. So let's look back on our cheat sheet on the sequence of word order in adjectives. So these old brown cardboard boxes. So these under determiners, this is under your demonstrative. So this, those, these, and that under demonstrative. So tama, since siya ang nauna, we have here. So wala naman din sa sentence which describes your boxes. Boxes is our noun here since this is the object being described. Diba? So siya ang noun, the rest, these are your adjectives. So these is your determiner, or as I have said, your demonstratives under that. So next, so tama ba na mauna ang old kaysa sa brown? So let's see. So old is an example of adjective concerning or referring to your size. So mauna ba ang adjectives describing size kaysa sa adjectives describing color? So correct. Kasi number 3 ang adjectives describing size. Number 6 ang adjective describing color. So that's correct. So these old brown, and then again, cardboard is an example of adjectives concerning or referring to material. So these old brown cardboard boxes. So this is also a correct sentence observing the proper word order in terms of adjectives. Lastly, we have the sentence, her fiancé is a handsome middle-aged Japanese man. So our noun here, or the person that we are trying to describe or modify is the man. Na-describe na ang man with the starters, your determiner, again, your article a, and then handsome. Where does handsome fit in our word order? So it, after your article, syempre, hindi na pwedeng magsaka pa, kaya naman ang a. So handsome, this qualifies under your coordinate adjective. Subject evaluation or personal opinion. For some, he is handsome. For some, he is ugly. For example, ganon. So that is still under personal opinions. So that is why it comes second after your determiner. A handsome and then middle-aged. So middle-aged is also, a handsome middle-aged is under your adjectives describing age. So we have young, old, ano pa dyan, yung modern, ancient, middle-aged. Dito rin siya sa adjectives describing age. Okay. A handsome middle-aged Japanese man. So Japanese, that is under your adjectives describing nationality. So hindi lang ito siya ha, ang adjectives na nag-describe ng nationality, there are hundreds of examples as well. So these are just some of the words or adjectives na under this one. So pa Chinese, Cantonese, ano pa dyan, Taiwanese, and so on and so forth. My Turks, German. Okay. So of course, lastly, you end with your noun. You end the sentence with the noun that you are describing using this adjectives in the sentence. So that is for word order concerning your adjectives. Next, we proceed to adverbs. So if adjectives modifies or describes and limits your nouns, your pronouns, kumbaga, and other word classes. Adverbs, on the other hand, modifies, describes, or limits your verbs, adjectives, other adverbs, or entire sentences. So adverbs may be positioned first, in the middle, or last in clauses. So we have here the different types of adverbs and their word possession. So first we have your adverb of manner. Excuse me. So for adverb of manner, it usually describes or answers how something is done or how an action is done, for example. So for adverb of manner, they are usually placed in the middle or last position in sentences or clauses. So clauses, a a little refresher, clauses are our building blocks of sentences. So in order to qualify as a clause must have a subject and a verb. So di ba perhaps in your other subjects as well, you have reviewed that clauses could either be dependent or independent clauses. Pero ang bottom line, a clause should have a subject and a verb. So first, adverb of manner again describes how something is done, the manner of doing something. So in terms of word possession, adverbs of manner are usually placed in the middle or the last position in a sentence or clause. For example, we have here the sentence, Nick carefully groomed the dog. So how do we identify the adverb of manner? So you ask the question, how did Nick groom the dog? So when we ask, how did Nick groom the dog? The manner, kumbaga, of how something is done. So the answer there is carefully. So this is our adverb of manner. So as it says here, adverbs of manner are usually placed in the middle or last position. So here in the first sentence, our adverb of manner carefully is placed in the middle after our subject and before our verb. So Nick carefully groomed the dog. Or it could also be placed at the last position, pang-end na sang sentence. Nick groomed the dog carefully. How did Nick groom the dog? Carefully. So this is our adverb of manner, placed at the last position or placed in the middle. So if sa middle siya, so it's placed between your subject and your verb. So another example, perhaps the ballerina gracefully danced in the stage. So we have there, how did the ballerina dance in the stage? Gracefully. So that is the adverb of manner, and we put it in, or its word position is between the subject and then between the subject and the verb. So the ballerina, for example, in the second sentence, the ballerina is our subject, and then your dance is the verb or action. Dito sa tunga sang ballerina, the ballerina and dance, dito ibutang ang gracefully. Or pwede at the last na siya ibutang. The ballerina danced in the stage gracefully. That is also correct or acceptable. So that was for adverb of manner. Second, we have your adverb of time. Adverb of time naman, it describes or tells you the answer with your question when or how long an event took place, or how long an event is going to be. So when or how long. Kanina sa adverb of manner, the question is on how. So adverb of time, the adverbs of time are usually in terms of word position in first or last position. So some examples of adverb of time includes your just, your still, already, and other similar adverbs which are usually in the middle position. For example, or order sequence that is also in your adverb of time. So for example, first, he shampooed the dog. So, or when did he, or ano bang step ang pag-shampoo niya sa dog? So it's the first step, kumbaga. So first, so that is an example of your adverb of time. So it could be for the word possession of your adverb of time, it could be placed at the beginning of the sentence, even before the subject pa, or it could be placed after the direct object. So backtrack naman takadali, direct object, when we talk about direct object, this is the object or person who receives the action na ginawa ng subject. So for example, in this sentence, he shampooed the dog. So let's not include the adverb of time first. So let's focus muna sa sentence na he shampooed the dog. So he here is obviously our subject. Shampooed is the verb. The act of putting shampoo or washing someone's hair or someone's mane with shampoo. So that is our verb. So our direct object again, the one who receives the action. So who did this he shampoo? The dog. So that is our direct object. So the dog. It could be, so again, our adverb of time, it could be placed at the beginning of the sentence or after the direct object. So he shampooed the dog first. So for example, we also have your other words, your other words such as your just, still, already, and other similar adverbs under adverb of time. So they are usually placed in the middle position. For example, he had already brushed the dog's coat. So our adverb of time here is already. Tapos na, kumbaga. So sequence ba? So mga sequence, for example, mga words under sequence or order is also under adverb of time. So he had already brushed the dog's coat already as our adverb of time. As it says here, usually placed in the middle position. So let's dissect how it is placed. So he had already brushed the dog's coat. We have here the subject. We also have your auxiliary verb. If you remember sa word order natin na topic sa last session. So had, for example, is an example of our auxiliary verb. Main verb natin yung brushed. And then the dog's coat is our direct object. So already is put here in between your auxiliary verb and your main verb. For example, for ganon ng mga adverb of time or adverbs under adverb of time, like you're just, still, already, they are placed in the middle position. Sorry. Next, we have your adverb of frequency. So if adverb of manner answers or describes your how an action is done or executed, and then your adverb of time tells us about when or how long an event lasts or how an event will be, how long an event will be. Adverb of frequency naman describes how often an event takes place. Gaano ba kadalas? Kumbaga. So of course, adverb of frequency, how often? Diyan na yung always, never, sometimes, rarely. No? Delight scale siya. Kumbaga, ang mga adverbs under adverb of frequency. So adverbs under adverb of frequency are usually placed in the middle position as well. So they are in the first position if they modify an entire sentence. For example, we have here the sentence, Nick has never been bitten by a dog. So in this sentence, same dito kanina sa already, parang ganun din ang formula for the placement of adverb of frequency. Nick has never been bitten by a dog. How often has Nick been bitten by a dog? So never. So we place your adverb never in the middle of your auxiliary verb has and your main verb been beaten. So we have there. Diyan siya inserts auxiliary verb, and before ang main verb, insert mo yung adverb of frequency. So for adverbs of frequency naman, which acts as modifiers of an entire sentence, so it is placed at the beginning. For example, in the sentence, occasionally he is scratched while shampooing a cat. So for example, dito, how often is he scratched while shampooing a cat? Occasionally. So ito yung example ng adverbs of frequency natin. So these are called sentence adverbs. So sentence adverbs are usually placed at the beginning of the sentence that when it modifies the entire sentence. So aside from that, aside from this one being your sentence adverb, some other examples of your sentence adverbs are your hopefully, fortunately, unfortunately, generally, ganun. Okay, so that is another rule, kumbaga, for word order concerning your adverb of frequency. So lastly, we have your adverb of place. So your adverb of place describes where the action of a verb is being carried out. So kompleto na. Adverb of manner, we have there the how. Adverb of time, when or how long. We also have your adverb of frequency, how often. And we also have your adverb of place. So adverb of place describes or answers where the action of a verb is being carried out. So adverbs of place are usually put after the direct object or the verb. So some examples of adverbs of place are here, there, behind, above. So for example, other examples of adverb of place are yung mga prepositional phrase natin. So at the park, at the mall, in the cabinet, under the table, ganun. Mga adverbs of place. Kasi where naman ang question describes where the action of a verb is being carried out. So we have here one example. One example sentence which uses an adverb of place. I didn't see him here. So obviously, since it's already stated here, I didn't see him here. Here is our adverb or specifically adverb of place. So as it was said or stated here, adverbs of place are put after the direct object or the verb. So I being our subject, and then we have your didn't as your auxiliary verb, see as your verb or main verb natin, him being the direct object because it answers your who or what. Who didn't I see here? Him. So that is the direct object. And of course, lastly, your adverb of place here. So we said that we put the adverb of place after the direct object or the verb. So if the direct object is not present, syempre, doon mo siya itabi sa after sa verb. But then since we have a direct object here, which is him in the sentence, that is where we place your word or your adverb here after the direct object him. Okay, so that is for our discussion for today about word order concerning your focusing mainly on adjectives and your adverbs. So this is our second to the last lesson. So no activity for this lesson anymore since I have already given the final task for this subject in Linguistics 1. So I will just post as well the last lesson in our Open LMS along with this topic for the day for Linguistics 1. So that would be all for today. Good day, God bless, and stay safe.